Hi, this is Homan Hamza, and this is another video, part of the Waves to You video tutorial series. In this video, I'll provide an overview of widgets and how they work. To begin, widgets can be thought of as the dynamic elements of a web page. Static elements would be text, images, and layout, whereas dynamic elements are pieces of a web page that carry out specific tasks. One example would be a cascading menu, which provides navigation throughout the website for a user. Another may be a web form, such as a contact form that a user can submit information with. Yet another may be a rotating banner showcasing a series of images, or a player that plays a series of videos. For these scenarios and many others, Waves 2 provides widgets that users can easily add to their web pages and templates without the need for technical programming knowledge. For starters, if we log in and land on our initial dashboard interface, one item that we'll notice here in our dashboard scroller is our widget library. We can access the widget library by clicking this widgets icon, and that's going to take us to an interface that's going to list all of the widgets that Waves 2 provides, divided into specific categories. For example, here you can see that we have a section for navigation, and we have all different types of menus which can really handle any type of design that a website would require. Here we have a security section which provides a login widget. We have a series of data widgets such as a custom table list where you can show a grid listing some data from a database table. In our communication section, we have a form builder. We also have an email sign-up form that allows you to capture emails using a quick form that dumps the data into a database table. Finally, here under general, we have some ad hoc widgets such as our e-commerce widget, our calendar widget. We also have minor widgets such as a text resize in the case that you want to change the size of a text on a web page, and that's something that would be good for something like usability. Now, the way widgets work is we can add them to web pages or templates. So if I open up my CMS menu tree here and just go all the way to the last page, I can create a new page, and by doing that, I'll just right-click and click on Add. And we'll call this widget sample just for the sake of this test. So I'm just going to click on Add here. It's going to create our new page. And immediately my web page is created. Now, remember, we're working in the content here. So anywhere in the content, and again, here my mouse cursor is on the very top left of the editor, but I do have the option to create layouts and tables and place this mouse cursor anywhere. But the idea being that once I decide where I want this widget to be placed, I can use the widgets pull down to browse through these series of widgets and choose the one that I want to add to the page. For example, here I can click on Form Builder. Once I do that, and this goes for all widgets, I can right-click on this particular item and either delete the control if I want to get rid of it, or click on Properties. Anytime we do this, it's going to ask us if we want to save the widget. The reason for this is when we use widgets within Waves 2, every time we add them to a page or a template, we're actually creating a new instance of that widget. And the reason behind that is we want to be able to create an unlimited amount of each widget. We may want a form builder on this page, but we also want one on another page of the same website. And in order to be able to style and set properties for each one individually, we need to create an instance. So here it's going to ask me if I want to save so that it could create that instance, and we'll go ahead and typically click OK. Once we do that, the properties of this particular widget will open up. In most cases, the first tab always handles the CSS styles. This is where we have the opportunity to style this particular widget to match our design. And then there's usually a series of property values, which really lets you fine-tune the functions of this particular widget. Finally, some widgets, especially the ones that deal with data, have a configured data source so that we can select the table where this data will be triggered into. Once we're ready with our widget changes, we can save this page and the results will show. Now remember, when we're in the editor, whether it's in the web page or the template, this is just a reference of this particular widget. It's simply a placeholder. It's a representation of where that widget would appear. Of course, once the web page renders, in the place of this particular placeholder, we'll see the actual output of the widget. In this case, it would be a web form. Now I spoke about instances. One thing to note here, and the same way we reached widgets earlier from our dashboard scroller, we also have the opportunity to reach it here within the widget library node on the CMS tree. When I access this area, one neat tool that we have here is the ability to see all the instances of a particular widget at once. So for example, I can go to the cascading menu here, and it's going to show me all the different instances that I have for this particular website. Now, you may ask, why is there so many cascading menus for this particular website? And the answer is that each specific template that we have used for this website requires one version of the cascading menu widget. However, that's not a problem because we have for every widget an option to copy to and from the settings. So if we needed to add the same cascading menu widget to say 10 templates of the same website, we can utilize this copy to settings from. So for example, I can copy the settings from this particular instance to a series of other instances. So once we configured one and styled one, we have the ability to really trigger those changes to a series of other instances within the same website. Here within the widget library, viewing one instance, we also have the opportunity to view the web page that this particular instance is used on. Each widget has its own unique ID that we could reference it by, and we also have the ability to see whether this is used on a template, a web page, and in either case, it'll tell us the specific file that it's used in. So that really wraps up this video on how widgets work within Waves 2 and some of the basic conventions that I covered in this video really follow through with all different widgets in the system. One thing to keep in mind about Waves 2 is that these widgets are really plug-in controls. So if there's ever a time to extend the system for a widget that doesn't exist, we can easily build a widget and just add it to the system, and you'll be able to use it like any other widget.